the roles of the deputy president, because like Silvana says, we have seen him coming out strongly to say that he is touring the country, he's going across the country, pioneering this developmental projects with the blessings of the president. And now the very same president has come out with this executive order that, sort of cripples him to what he has been doing for the better part of, I would want to say we're now headed to 2 years since, of course, the elections and the declaration of President Uhuru Kenyatta as the president of course, Kenya. So clearly, then it has some political implications, like Silvana says. So it's important that we first understand the role of the deputy president, because even as he was touring the country, with these developmental activities, as he was claiming, many people came out to castigate him and say that maybe he does not understand his roles pretty well. That's the reason why he's touring around. Otherwise, this is basically not what he was supposed to do.
Well, thank you very much, Linda. Maybe to answer that, the answer to that question is at Article 147 of the Constitution. And you do realize that the same article is very simple. The deputy president is the principal assistant to the president. And it ends there. And it goes on to say that the deputy president may perform any functions assigned to him by the president. Yes. You do remember very well, sometimes back, the president gave authority to the deputy president to do that job for him, going around and inspecting development projects and giving reports on him. Well, of course, it went further, whereby people started reading politics into it, in that His Excellency, the deputy president, was gaining credit for the same. So for me, what I can say is that the move by the president now to stamp his authority through an executive order, it means that time has come when he wants indeed work to be done. Because you do realize, being a deputy president, you are still a president, just that you are deputy. There is some way in which you might not do the work fulfillingly in the president's eye. And so giving that role to Dr. Matiang'i, I think would make it easier for him to do the, looking at other people who've been given that roles, the county commissioners and all, it will be easier for Matiang'i to do the job and report very well.
Does it then mean that the Deputy President, William Ruto, sort of failed in the duty that was given to him? And where does it place him in terms of, his bid for the 2022 elections?
The reason why I would say he failed somehow is because he used to take credit for it. You see, these are government projects. If now you find that other leaders now come to you for purposes of launching development projects and all that, then you fail. Because these are not your own projects, these are government projects. It's government that is spending money on these projects. So that's why I think the president has seen it fit to remove these powers from the deputy president and give them to Matiang'i. And after all, when you look at the roles of the ministry of Matiang'i, the state department that Matiang'i heads, that's actually the job that Matiang'i is supposed to do. So I think the president is just stamping his authority in this. But of course, politics can never miss out in this. And that's why I would say from the point where I sit, too much politics is being read into it.
Do you suppose that too much politics is being read into it? And where does it place Deputy President William Ruto today? If at all this was the function that he was conducting, with the blessings of the president, all right, finally then the president, sort of gets him off these particular duties. So where does he go back? And why is it that it's not clearly defined as to what he is supposed to do? Because at the end of the day, as much as maybe he's the president and he was actually doing this with the blessings of the president, then we put a question mark as to the activities of his office. Who was doing that at that particular time?
Just to echo what my colleague has said, it is important to acknowledge that the Ministry of Interior has two functions. Interior and coordination of national government activities at the end of the day. And the president has just put it clear so that it becomes clear that the CS in charge is supposed to make sure that he performs his role holistically without bringing any conflict into the process of making sure that he does the same. Yes, in terms of the duties assigned to the DP, I think sometimes in terms of structure, that's where we normally get some challenges. Because as my brother has correctly put it, the functions of the deputy president are very simple in that particular law. In the Constitution. So what needs to be done, especially in line with what is being pushed in terms of referendum, some of these functions are supposed to be clearly stated in law, whether it is within the Constitution, so that at any given time, Once you wake up, you don't find yourself in a situation which the deputy governors normally find themselves, that you're operating at the mercy of your boss at any given time. And that is the challenge which is there, because now His Excellency, the Deputy President, has to make sure that he performs what is stated in the law by making sure that he works closely with the President to make sure that the ambition and the objectives of the President are properly articulated.
Right. Dealing with security, again, just to cut you short a bit, dealing with security has really been a toll right here in the country. And you've seen the events of the day, and so much has been put into the interior docket towards ensuring that security is fully implemented right here in the country. So how do you balance this? Don't you think then it would be so much? Okay, well, as much as maybe the President has come out to sort of give a difference, you sort of segmented this, so it doesn't solely lie on the hands of course, Fred Matiang'i as an individual. Do you suppose that this then would be overburdening this particular docket in a way?
You do realize that it's not indeed the Ministry of Internal Affairs and National Coordination. Right. This is a committee by CSs, So what Matiang'i has been given is just a chairing. Because you do realize government projects cut across all these ministries, be it sports, be it health. We have government projects that are running, that are very alive. So what Matiang'i has been given is the overall role to oversee all these reports from these other cabinet secretaries. And also to look at it keenly, we have another committee, now the implementation committee, which is now headed by PS Karanja Kibichu. So Matiang'i's hands are not that full. For him, he's an overseer. Of course, he has persons who are assisting him work. What, let's say, Najib Balala will do, he will look at the government projects that are being launched in the tourism ministry, bring a report. This is the report that will now be taken to the President. And you do realize also the ultimate goal of His Excellency, the President, is to weed out corruption. Actually, that's what he told the county commissioners. He wants them to be his ears and eyes on the ground so that all these government projects that people are going around claiming credit for, it's indeed the money of the government that has been used in the proper way. So for me, with that ultimate goal in mind, I think the President has made a wise decision by forming these committees, and I'm certain in the long run, we are going to see the benefits of the same.
All right. So, of course, looking into the political implications of this, does it then sort of throw a missile in terms of politics? And I don't want to put you in this corner, but then again, it's important that we address it because Kenyans are talking about it. The structuring of Matiang'i, as a political figure.
Linda, let us first of all appreciate that the Ministry of Interior has very capable leadership.
Yes.
Remember, the CS is Dr. Matiang'i, being deputized by two able permanent secretaries. Yeah. And to be precise, in line with security, we have Dr. Karanja Kibichu, all of them very energetic at the end of the day. If you look at the structure of the security sector, it has constitutional officers, which equally have very able Kenyans to provide that particular leadership. So what the ministry normally does is just to give some element of guidance, and that's why I concur with my colleague that Matiang'i does not have that much within his docket. He has the energy and the ability to make sure that he provides leadership in that particular aspect. I've interacted with him in several occasions. He's a very good implementer. And what normally lacks in this country is that aspect of implementation. And that is what has given always Matiang'i a credit in each and every ministry that he goes. Whatever has been passed by Parliament is supposed to be implemented, he will do it 100% at the end of the day. Yes, it can be viewed that there's some political realignment in terms of placing, because if you're given extra power by the appointing authority, who has the power and the mandate of the Kenyan as large, politicians will always view it as if you're being groomed for a specific position. But those ones are probabilities as we speak. All that we need as a country at the moment is that can we see change? Can the Big Four be implemented? Can we be safe at the end of the day, especially after coming from the tragedy that happened to us last week? Those are the things which Kenyans want to see, and the implementation being done uniformly across the country. All
right. Of course, let's just take a look at the committees that we are talking about. We're talking about the National Development, Implementation and Communication Cabinet Committee. Of course, that comprises of chairperson, that is the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government, the Vice Chairperson, Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Planning, and also members who include all Cabinet Secretaries, the Attorney General, the Head of the Public Service, Police Secretariat, and of course all this reporting to President Uhuru Kenyatta. Another committee is the National Development Implementation Technical Committee. Of course, I'll not give you the, what it comprises of, because it's quite a huge list right there. We have the Regional Development Implementation Coordination Committee, and of course we also have the County Development Implementation Coordination Committee. And we also, I think that should be the last one that is there. Yes, the county, yeah, it's at the county level. How does it come in then to strengthen devolution as it stands today? Because devolution has been faced with lots of, challenges, even during this time of inception. Of course, the first phase of devolution. Now we are on the second phase, but we've still not, do not seem to have gotten it right.
Thank you, Linda. You do realize that most of these government projects in the counties now were left to the county government to do the overseeing role. But now and then the county commissioner's role was mostly security angle. But now the county commissioners have now been given a hand and an eye in the government projects that are running in their counties. And this means that, of course, we are going to see a friction between the county commissioners and the governors, which has already started being aired. The governors are complaining that these are junior officers to them. How can they be given such mandate? But you see, what I think the president is trying to do, when you look at Schedule 4 of the Constitution of Kenya, which divides the functions of the county government and the national government, here we are talking about national government projects. So when these projects are for the national government, definitely the president must have a strong hand in it. And that's the reason why he has authority to see how they can be run. That's why he has decided, far from security aspect of it, let me bring in these county commissioners to give me more information on how they are run. And actually, I remember when the clip was being played, what he was very critical about is that the reason why I'm putting you here is to give me information that I require, and more so to weed out corruption. Knowing very well that if you leave such a role to a governor, and you've seen very many cases of governors being corrupt. If you leave such to the governors, and of course the governor will want to take credit of the same, despite it being a national government project. Of course, in case there is any corruption somewhere, the governor cannot bring such information because he does not receive express instructions from the president. The county commissioner is a person, is a representative of the president at the county. So for me, I think it's a long shot which will bear fruit, because the county commissioners will now be answerable directly to Matiang'i, Matiang'i who will now be giving the information to the president.
All right, of course.